came back from war expecting peace. But inside his abandoned ranch, 4 women were already living there, and none of them were ready to leave. What they were hiding would change everything. Caleb Rourke returned from war with nothing but silence inside him. The town of Red Hollow barely recognized him as he rode through, dust-covered, eyes hollow, and a past he no longer spoke of.
Get back!
People stepped aside, not out of respect, but discomfort. The war had ended for the world, but not for him. Every sound still felt like gunfire in his mind. He had come back only for one reason, a piece of land no one else wanted. The ranch stood at the edge of forgotten land, broken fences, collapsed barn, and a house barely holding its shape. But Caleb didn't care. He had learned in war that broken things could still function. As he stepped onto the property, he noticed movement near the barn. 4 women, watching him like he was either salvation or danger. They didn't speak at first. Neither did he. The wind did the talking, dragging dust between them like time refusing to settle. Finally, Caleb held up the deed. "I own this place," he said calmly. The tallest woman stepped forward, eyes sharp with exhaustion. "Then you just inherited 4 problems," she replied. Maeve, Ruth, Clara, and Lila were not strangers to suffering. They had escaped a cruel mining settlement after their employer's sudden death left them unprotected. The town had turned on them instantly. No jobs, no shelter, no mercy. Caleb listened without interrupting. He had seen enough pain to recognize truth. He didn't ask for details. Instead, he made a decision that surprised even himself. "Stay," he said simply. "But this place doesn't survive for free." Suspicion filled the air. They didn't trust him. But they had nowhere else to go. One by one, they stepped inside the ranch house. The door creaked like it was warning them. Caleb stayed outside a moment longer, as if wondering whether he had just made a mistake he couldn't undo. Days passed in awkward silence. Work replaced conversation. Maeve organized structure. Ruth repaired what she could. Clara cleaned endlessly, as if trying to erase memories. Lila followed Caleb quietly, studying him more than speaking to him. Caleb worked like a machine, fixing fences, repairing tools, rebuilding the ranch piece by piece. But every night he sat alone outside, staring into nothing. The women noticed, but didn't ask. One night, a storm hit. The barn roof collapsed further. Without hesitation, Caleb ran into the rain. And for the first time, the women followed him, not as strangers, but as people who didn't want him to stand alone. Clara broke first. A simple mistake, a dropped lantern, triggered something buried deep inside her. She froze, trembling, memories flooding back. Caleb didn't ask questions. He simply removed the burning glass from her hands and stood beside her until she could breathe again. That moment changed something. Slowly, the walls between them began to weaken. Ruth spoke of losing her family to sickness. Maeve revealed she had once led others before failing them. Lila admitted she didn't even remember her childhood clearly anymore. Caleb finally spoke about the war, not in detail, but in fragments. Enough for them to understand why he never flinched at silence. Because silence was the only thing that didn't hurt him anymore. Riders arrived one afternoon. 6 men, armed, smiling too confidently. They claimed the land records were disputed, but their real intent was obvious. Maeve stood her ground, but fear flickered in her eyes. The leader of the riders stepped closer, threatening without raising his voice. Pretty women don't survive long out here alone. Caleb stepped forward. No anger, no shouting, just presence. And something in his silence made the riders hesitate. "This land is spoken for," he said. The men left, but not before promising they would return. They returned at night, burning torches, gunfire, chaos. The ranch became a battlefield in seconds. But this time, Caleb didn't stand alone. Maeve fought like someone protecting a future. Ruth kept others steady. Clara overcame fear. Lila refused to hide. The ranch was no longer a place of survival. It was a stand. The attackers retreated at dawn, defeated and scattered. But victory came at a cost. The ranch was damaged, and Caleb was injured. For the first time, the women saw him not as unbreakable, but human. Recovery was slow, but something new grew in its place. Trust. Real trust. The kind forged in fire, not words. The ranch slowly rebuilt. Crops returned. Fences rose again. And laughter, once impossible, began to echo through the valley. One evening, standing under a burning orange sky, Caleb finally understood something he had forgotten in war. Survival wasn't enough. Lila looked at him and asked softly, "What are we now?" Caleb didn't hesitate this time. "Alive," he said, "and together." After the attack, the ranch should have felt safe again, but peace in the Old West was never free. Caleb noticed tracks near the river every morning. Not random riders, organized movement. Someone was watching them, waiting. Maeve pushed for rebuilding faster. Ruth worried about supplies. Clara stayed quiet, but her eyes never left the horizon. Lila was the only one who still believed they could finally live in peace, but even she felt the tension in the air. One evening, Caleb found a bullet embedded in the barn wall. Fresh. Not from the earlier attack. This was a message, and it meant one thing. The war for the ranch wasn't over. A stranger arrived at dusk. No horse dust, no hesitation, just confidence. His name was Marshall Grayson, and he wasn't there by accident. He knew Caleb from the war. Grayson brought news. The men who attacked the ranch were not bandits. They were hired. Someone powerful wanted the land, and the people on it gone. Before leaving, Grayson warned him quietly, "Whatever you're protecting, it's connected to something bigger than you think." Then he rode off, leaving Caleb with more questions than answers. While repairing the land, Ruth discovered something unusual under the soil. Old wooden markings, like hidden structures beneath the ranch. Digging deeper revealed an abandoned underground storage system, filled with old military crates, maps, and sealed documents. Caleb recognized the markings instantly. They weren't random. This ranch had once been part of a classified war supply route, and that meant it had value far beyond land. The enemy returned, but this time not as raiders. They came as a private armed company with legal papers and military-grade weapons. Maeve realized the truth too late. This wasn't about land. It was about control of hidden war assets beneath the ranch. Caleb made a decision. "We don't run," he said. For the first time, all 4 women agreed without hesitation. The final assault came at dawn. The sky turned red before the first shot was fired. But this time, the ranch was ready. Maeve led defense positions. Ruth secured supplies. Clara coordinated movement. Lila carried messages through fire and smoke. And Caleb became what he had once been in war. Strategist, protector, soldier. When the dust finally settled, the attackers were gone. Not victorious, not defeated, just erased from the land they tried to claim. Silence returned again, but this time it didn't feel empty. The ranch was no longer just land. It was proof that broken people could rebuild something stronger than what they lost. Caleb never spoke much about his past again. Maeve stopped running from leadership. Ruth found peace in rebuilding life. Clara learned she wasn't fragile anymore. And Lila finally understood what home truly meant. And every sunset after that, the ranch didn't look like survival anymore. It looked like family.